Is there any research on backlash from when a child is pressured to learn to read at school? My 8-year-old son is so distraught about reading under pressure. He frequently says he's stupid and can't read school texts. But then I walk by his room and see him happily reading on his own. When we go to the library, he walks out with a dozen books in his hand. My gut says this is an anxiety thing. I'm curious to hear the experts' thoughts on grade level reading.
Margot, I think you're probably best to answer the grade level part, and I can speak to the anxiety piece.
Okay. Most students around here have academic testing of some sort at the beginning of the year for math and reading, whether it's MAPS or STAR or whatever it is. You should have some indication as to where your student is with respect to grade level reading. And if you don't get it through standardized testing at your school, you should be able to ask your teacher. If there is a lot of resistance to reading at school, I think something else is going on. Either a lot of kids, sometimes there are timed reading things, and kids really object to the timed tests or that kind of reading fluency. That can be mitigated by just saying the student doesn't do well with timed tests, eliminate the timing of the tests, and see if they enjoy reading more. If it progresses more than that, to the student really resisting reading in school, then I might ask the school to do a simple evaluation of their reading and just see where they're at with respect to grade level reading. And the real important thing is, do they enjoy reading? And if they're pulling out 12 books from the library that are commensurate with their reading ability, that tells me that something's going on in school with the way they're presenting reading, but not necessarily. There could be an issue. There could be a learning disability, and that may need to be teased out more fully.
So that was one of the things that I was thinking, ruling out a disability, because it can feel so frustrating to kids if there is something going on and right, they don't know or it's not caught. I think one of the things that I heard too is a sense of that labeling of themselves, right? Like, I am, whatever the child is calling himself, but I am bad, I am stupid, I am, I'm always really mindful of that with my clients, because it's something that the child is not bad, stupid, any of those things. It is a behavior that is challenging for them. And I think that language is really important as parents and teachers and just people in the community to be able to notice and to separate out self from behavior. They're two totally different things. So I think that as a parent is something that you can do to be able to talk to your child and say, okay, let's talk about this. I wonder, what's going on? This is challenging, but you're not that, whatever the negative thing is that they're calling themselves. This question about anxiety, I would wonder if it is isolated to reading. Is it only in this one place that you see it? Is it in other areas too? That could help to kind of differentiate. Is this a reading specific issue, or is this more about being worried about what other people could think, being worried about something with peers, being worried about pressure or time? So there are lots of different things depending on the child that you could look at, but those are kind of the pieces that I would think about initially. And then, absolutely, you could always bring them in for an evaluation of any sort to be able to get a little bit of peace of mind around it as well, if you're worried.
Supposed to play the role of moderator tonight, but I'm going to throw my 2 cents in on this one as well. Yeah, I think if the child really loves to read when they're reading independently, likely they can read. I've worked with many children who struggle to read aloud, and as a few of the panelists have already said, it does seem more like a social anxiety, that it's a fear of embarrassing themselves or tripping over a word or making a mistake, and that there might be a theme with, they don't like to volunteer in class altogether, or if you ask them, like, do you sit in class nervous that the teacher's going to call on you to provide a response, they're like, mm-hmm. And so I think just helping to talk the child through that and break it apart. And if that is what it is, I think part of the root of the question was, like, should we be forcing this child to read aloud, or can that have adverse effects? And my personal thought on that is that let's help them allay whatever anxieties they have about that without just pushing them through, because I think we might inadvertently increase their anxiety if we do that. I will return to my role as moderator now. I'm sorry.